What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hipster Tactical channel. Today I wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about my Walther PPQ 45, which is my most recent acquisition. This is not going to be one of my full deep dive 30-minute reviews because I'm actually selling this gun today, so I just wanted to take a minute to tell you about it. I'll tell you why I'm selling it towards the end of the video, but first I want to tell you how awesome this gun is. It's a fantastic pistol. It's somewhat bittersweet selling it, but you know, as you'll see, it just, in some ways, it just doesn't work for what I'm looking for. But I think, you know, for a lot of people out there, this is going to be a fantastic option. Everybody just kind of knows the PPQ for having one of the best striker-fired triggers and just being one of the most shootable, most naturally accurate striker-fired polymer frame pistols on the market. The PPQ descends from the P99, which I just reviewed, and I have this here. So single action trigger on the P99 is just great. It's spectacular. And basically what you get in the PPQ guns is the single action trigger from the P99. I've not shot a PPQ in 9mm, but I've dry fired them, and I'll tell you the trigger on this 45 PPQ is even lighter. It's such a fantastic trigger, and that seems to be consistent when I read other people's take on the PPQ 45. They're like, yeah, that trigger's even lighter than a 9mm PPQ. So the trigger's just fantastic, and you know, the big headline with this gun is just how well it shoots. It's one of those guns that's just intuitively accurate. It's almost uncannily accurate. I mean, you point this thing at the target, you will get a hole right where you're pointing. And I guess the thing that is just so unique about the way this gun shoots is how forgiving it is. It almost seems to be immune to errors in windage. Like, you really have to try to miss left or right with this gun. I mean, it's just so forgiving. It will put rounds right where you want them. You know, obviously it's in 45, and it's scaled up from the regular PPQ, which is, you know, basically this gun. This is the P99, but as you can see, it's just a little bigger overall. The footprint's a little bigger. It has this really nice grip with these excellent ergonomics, and as much of a fan as I am of the P99, I feel like the ergonomics on the PPQ is a little better. The contours are a little nicer. The shape is a little better. It just feels a little more natural in your hand. Not that the P99 is bad, but the PPQs, I think, is definitely an improvement in that. And the grip isn't, you know, sometimes on 45s and 10mm, because the round is longer, the cartridge is longer, you get this deep grip front to back, and especially if you have small hands, sometimes it's hard to get a grip on. They completely mitigated that, you know, issue with this gun, and it feels very natural. It doesn't really feel much different from, you know, a regular PPQ or a P99. Well, the bore axis is pretty high on this gun, and you know, if you read about this gun, people do note that. So you get a little bit of a muzzle rise, but the recoil impulse is very soft, and I think the fact that you do get a little more rise, you know, with this, I think with you know, with any gun that has a little more rise versus having straight back recoil, yes, your recovery time to when the muzzle drops back on target is more, but the impulse itself honestly feels a little softer. I feel like when you have a higher bore axis and when you have a little bit of rise. And with the PPQ, with these excellent ergonomics, the grip makes it so you just kind of naturally pull the muzzle down, and it's a very manageable recoil impulse. It's very soft, it's very comfortable to shoot, and I'll roll in some shooting footage. Yeah, you can see I'm doing double taps pretty fast, and this thing's super controllable. And those double taps, that was the first time I ever shot the gun. And you know, I was keeping those double taps in the head at 10 yards. You see some of the groups I've shot there, they're just excellent. It was one of those guns where, you know, I was carving a hole to the center of the bullseye, and I was literally like carving like deliberately carving up from where this hole was starting to manifest. It's just a phenomenal shooter, and I think if you look at other reviews, there's a couple other YouTube videos on this gun, you know, some stuff written about it. It kind of corroborates that perspective on just how well this gun shoots. You get 12 rounds of 45 in this thing. The magazines seem very high quality. They're made in Italy, so they're probably Metgar, and it's interesting. One thing I noticed, you'll notice how these are snap caps, so not live ammunition. You notice how high the round is angled up in the feed lips here, and it really gives you this really high feed angle, you know, relative to the feed ramp and the chamber from the magazine. So I have read that this gun's nothing but reliable. Actually, now that I say that, there was one YouTuber, I think it was just an opinion, he had some issues with this gun, actually. He was comparing it, I think, to the Smith & Wesson M&P 45. He had a few issues with it. You know, that's the only instance where I've seen anybody talk about having issues with this gun. But who knows? You know, maybe it wasn't lubricated, but he usually lubricates its gun. In any case, I had nothing but 100% reliability with it. I put, I don't know, between 150 and 200 rounds through it. Shot it fast. It was perfectly reliable. Everything else I've read about the gun is, you know, people find this gun to be perfectly reliable. And it feels super high quality, very well made. That's typical for Walthers. Not a surprise there. The function and the feel and just how everything works together is really, really good. There's a little bit of play in the barrel, I'm sorry, the slide to frame fit, but that never bothers me in a gun, and in some cases it's a little reassuring. You get a little margin for error there, and it in no way affects shootability. This gun's crazy accurate, and interestingly, this gun has polygonal rifling, like an H&K, and I guess a Glock has polygonal rifling too. So I'm not sure if the other PPQs have that. My P99 is conventional rifling. Yeah, definitely conventional rifling on the P99. No, I never knew Walther was using polygonal rifling in any of their modern guns, or any of their guns. So that's kind of interesting. You know, supposedly polygonal rifling, I've heard people say you get a little more accuracy out of it. I don't know if that's true. You do tend to get a bit more velocity, because it creates, I guess, a tighter gas seal behind the projectile, and so you get a little more muzzle velocity. So, you know, it has some benefits to it, and that's just one interesting thing I found with this gun. So just talk a little bit more about the trigger. The trigger on this gun's fantastic. In my recent review on the P99, that's called Defying the Dingus, and I was complaining just kind of about, you know, how modern striker-fired pistols, sometimes they can seem kind of all the same, kind of boring, kind of uninnovative. Well, that's not the case with this. You know, this gun has a dingus, and the dingus in no way impedes your ability to shoot it at a very high level. The trigger is super light. You get to this firm wall. This is a single action trigger, mind you. This isn't, don't get confused, you know, with a striker-fired pistol somehow being different than, you know, a hammer-fired pistol as far as double action and single action. This is a single action pistol. So, you know, you come to a firm single action wall, and it's a light wall, and you just pull through it, and the snap is so crisp. And then you get this really short reset. It's a fantastic trigger. You know, I showed this to my wife, and she pulled the trigger, and she was just like, it feels like a toy. Like, it's crazy. It's like the most unintrusive way to ignite the primer of a bullet. Like, it's just so subtle and crisp and direct. I think that's one reason it's hard to miss with these guns. They're just, you get this kind of just seamless connection to your shot, and there's no thump of a hammer falling. There's no other force that distracts from your point of aim and how you're holding the gun. And I think that's one reason these guns are just such great shooters. Now, with that, getting on to the reason I'm selling it, and I don't want to make this video about this, but for me, you know from watching my other videos, if you've watched my other videos, that I tend to gravitate to a double action, single action system for concealed carry. That's what I'm comfortable with. It works for me, makes the most sense for me. You know, this gun, For me, the trigger is so light that I would need a safety to feel comfortable carrying this with a round in the chamber. I've heard you can get other like trigger return springs for the PPQs to make the triggers a little heavier, but I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, this was really not going to be much more than a range toy for me, and I'm glad I had a chance to shoot it and experience it and tell you about it. But it's not going to be a carry gun or really a self-defense gun. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be for you. Make that clear. But, you know, we all have our personal preferences when it comes to handguns, which is why there are so many damn handguns out there. You can usually find something that works for you. It's just not my preference. So I'm moving it on. I got, you know, had a chance to shoot it, had a chance to enjoy it, and I had a chance to tell you about it. And I got what I paid for out of it, and I will kind of reallocate those funds into something else, which I can tell you about on the channel. So, in conclusion, love this gun. Not exactly what I'm looking for as far as a self-defense gun and a carry gun, but it may be for you, and you will not be disappointed in the way this gun shoots, in how reliable it is, and how it feels, and just how it is in general. It's super high quality. It feels very well made, and it's a fantastic gun. So thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Hipster Tactical. I am Matt, and I'll talk to you soon.